Welcome to Sports Geek Throwback. Here's your host, the sports geek himself, Sean Callanan.
G'day, I'm Sean Callanan from Sports Geek and welcome to Sports Geek Throwback, where I pick out the best bits from the Sports Geek podcast archive. For this Sports Geek Throwback, I go back to episode 276 with Jessica Ivers, published back in May 2020. Jess was working at tennis in the time. She's now working in marketing and comms at the Melbourne Sports Centres here in, obviously, Melbourne. Remember, if you need help in your digital marketing and sponsorship teams, please get in touch. That's what we love doing here at Sports Geek. You can email me, Sean at Sports Geek HQ. We love applying the digital to dollars process to help your team build revenue. In this throwback episode, Jess and I reminisce of those early days of social media and how it's evolved over time. Remember, you can listen to the full episode at sportsgeekhq.com/276.
One thing I did want to, talk to you about was social has grown. Like early on, it was like all about engagement, but like as it got more global and as the size of the audiences got bigger, engagement was getting harder and harder, right? Like, early on, with Manly and you would have been doing it with the Bulldogs, you would have been, replying back to fans and tweeting back to them and especially Twitter. Like everyone did a lot of engagement early on Twitter, but then it just, when it got bigger and the scale it just got so noisy.
Yeah.
And the same with, especially tennis being global. Like, how has that piece changed from a, social media executioner or a community manager point of view? How has that changed both trying to engage with the fans in some way, and then if we want to get into the darker part of the internet, some of the fans' responses and having to deal with it? How has that changed over the years?
Yeah, I know. I was actually doing a bit of a deep search on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, trying to find some from a little campaign I did at the Bulldogs with the Dog Box, which is the social media activity where we choose a couple of people each week and they come and sit and watch the games in this little dog box. It was a coach's box.
It was a corporate box. You weren't putting them in an actual dog box.
No, it wasn't. It weren't caged.
But you're effectively getting social media fans / fan influencers together to give them an experience.
Now I think about it, that was probably the initial influencer marketing that it wasn't known as then.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was doing a bit of a search through and that was how we'd announce the winners of the dog box for that week. We'd tweet them, and then if we hadn't heard back from, most of them would reply really quickly. If we hadn't, we were like, at such and such, you should check your inbox. There's an email waiting for you there. I was like, oh, I forgot that was how kind of carefree social used to be, that you could be like that on your channels, whereas now it's a lot more slick, I guess, and a lot more less so much about the fan engagement side of things via social. But
it's less social. Like, for a lot of sports, like the social media channels and Twitter in particular, has become more broadcast. Like it's, here's our stuff. And partly it's behavior, partly it's the way the platforms have pushed it, and sort of, Facebook's the same, Instagram stories are the same. Like, hey, consume our content has become more broadcast. But it's like, I think it has, shifted a little bit. I think teams are by and large and pulling back from this Twitter engagement. Like early on, it was like, we're doing so much stuff on Twitter, but we're not seeing the traffic returns or the engagement returns for that effort, right? Like someone, asks a question about, where should I claim my tickets at Australian Open, right? And someone's meant to respond. Then there's expectation, the customer service piece.
Yeah.
So it became so massive.
If you like this Sports Geek Throwback episode, please check out the full episode at sportsgeekhq.com. Please share Sports Geek with your sports business colleagues. We appreciate you sharing. We love working with podcast listeners. Please get in touch so we can help your team. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call. All Sports Geek episodes are available at sportsgeekhq.com and all podcast platforms.